Hey, good morning everybody and welcome to Andover Baptist Church online this morning. It's so great to have you with us. Glad that you're joining us, whether you're live with us now or whether you're catching up a little bit later on demand. It's great to have you here. My name's Chris, I'm the Senior Minister at ABC, and you are?
I'm Ruth, the wife of the Senior Minister at ABC.
But lots of other things as well.
Yes, I'm a lady, and I'm the daughter of two people. And yes, I work as a nurse during the week when I'm not looking after you.
Brilliant. Well, it's so great that you've joined us this morning. It's going to be lovely to be hosting with you today. So we've got now about 9 minutes or so before our service begins. And in this kind of opening slot, we call it the 10 before, we love to just chat and find out what's going on. And we'll talk a little bit about what's coming up and all that sort of thing. So just really quickly, what's coming up today? We've got a live service coming up starting at 11 o'clock. And Stephen Bennett's going to be hosting that. Alex Pugh, our student minister, is going to be leading our sung worship. Brilliant. And Rob Hadfield is going to be speaking, we hope. A little bit of an emergency going on in Rob's house, but we're pretty sure he'll be here in time for that. So Rob is going to be speaking a little bit later on, so we're really looking forward to that too. We want to say a big hi to those of you who are joining us on the live chat this morning. I can see Marion and Ray and Cherry and others joining us on the live chat today. So do say hi on the chat. We always really love to have that going on. So I thought we'd just talk a little bit about what's been going on this week. So You've had an interesting week. What's been going on for you this week?
So I worked the first 3 days of the week. So I'm a nurse, community frailty nurse by trade. So I did that the beginning of the week so that I could then go up to Coventry and visit our eldest daughter, Emily. And so I spent a few days with her. She was at work for the first 2 days, but we had a nice day yesterday. So I got some shopping done without any time pressures, which was really nice. And then yesterday we went off to a local wetland centre, which was really cool, just to be out somewhere different in the fresh air and spotting birds that we didn't know what they were. Although we did see a woodpecker, which we were really pleased about.
Cool. So it's a bit of mum and daughter time.
Absolutely, a bit of mum and daughter time. Abandoned you, all on your lonesome, nobody looking after you at the end of this week. Did you cope?
Well, yes, because I am a grown-up. Contrary to popular belief, I am a grown-up, and I had a good time, actually, to be fair. Played a bit of golf, which was really, really nice. Had a day off on Friday, so went up, joined some mates up near Basingstoke for a round of golf, which was really good fun. Doing some work and stuff, and out with a few blokes for curry on Friday night, so took the opportunity to be out with a few blokes.
Gig.
So it was hard, but I did cope, and all was well. And to be fair, I enjoy quite a lot of the cooking and that kind of stuff. So, all was good. All was good. So, should we talk a little bit about this series that we're doing?
Yeah.
Right now. So I know you're often involved in the kids' work here, so you don't always get to be a part of this series. But we're doing this series with the adults that we've been live streaming for a few weeks now since the new year, called Better Decisions, Fewer Regrets.
Okay. So have you been making better decisions?
Well, I hope so. And we hope that this series is being really helpful to people, because we're saying that so often our decisions are like the steering wheels of our lives, that if we make poor decisions, we veer ourselves off course, or we don't avoid obstacles in the road that we should avoid, all of that kind of stuff. So we've been talking about different questions we can ask ourselves when we're coming to make decisions about how we can better deduce what we should be doing. So fewer regrets down the road. So so that's what we've been trying to do. So today Rob is going to be speaking about this thing we're calling the wisdom question. So last week I spoke about this thing called the conscience question. Okay. So what's our conscience saying to us? Are we stopping and pausing when our conscience is kind of poking us or prodding us a little bit? Should you really be doing this?
Yep.
And today Rob is talking about how we can find wisdom and ask ourselves, is this the wise thing to do? It's maybe the obvious thing to do, may even be the easy thing to do. Is it really the wise thing to do? So we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on in our service today. And we would love for you, if you're joining us online, if you want to put a question in the chat at any point in the service today, a question about the talk as Rob's speaking, then hopefully we'll be interviewing Rob at the end of the service today, and we can ask him about that.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd
so-
really encourage people to do that, because we've always got those questions, haven't we? So, great opportunity. So take it and use it.
So just a reminder to you as well, if you're watching this, we'd love for you to like the video and to subscribe. If your subscribe button is what colour?
Red.
Then you need to click it, because you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, and there's loads of great content on that, and you can be reminded about when we're posting new stuff on that as well. So if you're not subscribed, we'd love for you to subscribe. And if you haven't
Remember, only touch it
only
if it's red.
Only if it's red, because otherwise you unsubscribe, and we don't want that. So, and we've got like 930 something subscribers to our YouTube
Wow, how
channel.
exciting is that? That means that our community is growing, and that's so exciting that it's getting bigger, and more people are engaging with what we're doing and learning about God and how important He is to us and each of us in our daily lives. I think that's really exciting.
It's really exciting. So come and join in with all of that. That would be great. So on a Sunday, so I've talked about what we're doing with the adults often on a Sunday, better decisions, fewer regrets. What are you doing on a Sunday, particularly like the first 3 Sundays of the month when you're here for church on a Sunday morning? What are you doing?
So I work out in the children's work. At the moment, I'm based with the, got to get this right, the 5 to 11-year-olds. Previous to that, I was working with the Bubbles age group, which was the 1 to 4-year-olds. And we just take that opportunity, and we're about to expand to being open the first 3 Sundays of the month. So children's work working open concurrently with the service. And we just love having children's church. So we're essentially doing what you do in the main hall, but we're doing it with kids and doing it in a way that helps engage them, because we know that as adults we can sit and listen to somebody talking to us, but when you're a child, actually that's a bit tough. And we don't want it to be like school, so we want it to be fun and engaging, and so we play mad games, we do some crafty things. So last week they made stress balls. We were talking about when we lose control and sometimes anger can take over. So actually having a little beanbaggy stress toy that we can use at times like that can be helpful. And so they made them. The older ones made them from material, and the younger ones made them from a balloon. And just great opportunities to look at what the Bible says, and look at how kids can actually deal with that in their everyday lives, when they're at school and when they're at home, or with their friends, or when they're with their siblings, and how God can be a part of that. So it's really exciting. We're really excited as a team to be able to open up some more sessions, but we would also love some more team members so that we can continue to expand, because we know there's loads of kids out there who would really enjoy what we do and enjoy being a part of that. So please do come and speak to us if you're interested.
Yeah, that's so cool. And we have this thing, Chris Jules, our communications director, often talks about this, that life is complicated. Being a parent is complicated. Being an adult is complicated. Being an older person is complicated. Life is complicated, and we want to help. And we think God really wants to help, and that's perhaps the most important thing of all. So it's so exciting, because the same kind of values that we'd have for any age group are lived out in the kids' work and the youth work as well, that we want to be relevant and engaging. We want to tackle topics that God has so much to say about, but that people can implement in their lives. We're passionate about helping everybody, no matter what age they are, take a next step in their journey of faith. So to hear about how that's being contextualized for children, taking the same values but for kids, and making that engaging and relevant to kids, because that's going to be a bit different potentially to an adult. It's really exciting to hear that. And I know, because you've been working like loads, because there's been loads of stuff around our house on the kind of environment, because we're passionate about creating good environments as well that are welcoming and attractive, and you've been doing that, haven't you, with the kids as well?
Yeah, we've got really excited as a team just to be able to look at what does the hall look like, and the rooms look like that people are coming into, and we know that we have all the parents walking through the room to drop off their kids and to sign them in. So we want to make sure that the back hall is really engaging, not just for the kids when they come, but for the parents as they walk through, so that they can see what we're talking about that day. They can see what the series titles are. They can see we have these bottom lines that basically are the essence of what we're trying to think about that session in one sentence. And so we're displaying that, and we're creating creating some, what we hope is really eye-catching and vibrant displays, so that both the kids that come and their parents can have a chance to interact with that. And then they can take that into the week. They can talk about what they've seen and what we've done, and we give them stuff that they can do during the week as their next steps as a family to link in with what the children have been learning about. And it just helps everybody then just make it a part of their lives.
That's so good. So great to hear about that. Do get in touch with our kids and youth team if you want to know more about that. We are 7 seconds away from the start of the service. So we're going to hand over to Stephen in the hall as we begin our service together today.
Good morning. My name is Stephen. I'm one of the leaders here at Andover Baptist Church, and it's brilliant to be able to spend this time with you this morning. Whether or not you're on site here in the building, and it's brilliant to see so many people. It's just great to get that sense of our community coming together and being able to connect with one another. And also, if you're joining us here online this morning, it's brilliant to have you too. And we've been so blessed with technology over the last couple of years that we've been able to build a really strong community, whether or not people are here present with us on site or watching either, on demand later at a different time of the week, or actually just watching with us live this morning. Now, we've come to the fourth part of our series, Better Decisions, Fewer Regrets, I should say. And our Minister Rob Hadfield is going to come up and speak to us later, talking about the maturity question, and we're going to have a great conversation around wisdom. We're also going to have some sung worship led by Alex and the band, and a time for reflection. So I just really like to encourage you all to feel God's presence with you this morning, and it's just great to be able to spend this time together. And now we'll hand over to Chris, who's in our studio, and we'll find out a bit more about what's been going on in the life of the church this week.
Hey everybody, and welcome to our This Week at ABC slot. We love this slot. We get to talk a little bit about some of the things that have been going on in the life of the church over the last few days and some things that are coming up. My name's Chris, and I'm the Senior Minister at ABC, and I get to do the slot with the green screen today, which is going to be so much fun for me, hope for you too. So let's talk about some things that have happened this last week, and in particular we want to say a huge thank you to all of you who contributed to our Christmas offering for this thing we did called Blue Monday food boxes. So we joined together with other churches in Andover to make up boxes of food and essential items and a supermarket voucher for people in our town who may be in need or who may be struggling. And there's this whole thing called Blue Monday, where this Monday in January is supposed to be the day where we're our most unhappy in the year because Christmas is gone and it's still dark and all of that sort of stuff. And we were aware through our local schools in Andover there are a lot of people who are really struggling, and so we just wanted to be a blessing. So we partnered up with those schools, with the other churches in the town, and you can see here we made up goodie bags and boxes full of stuff for people, and they got distributed to the schools, who then distributed it out to the people that they were aware of who really needed this kind of blessing. So thanks so much to all of you who gave for that offering. You were incredibly generous, and between all the churches in the town, over £6,000 was raised to enable all of this to happen, and we played our part in that. And then a number of volunteers, including some great folks from this church as well, hope you can see, went down and helped packed up the boxes and distributed to the schools and all of that kind of stuff. So just a great thing to do. So that happened this last week, a huge blessing to our community here in Andover. Also want to talk to you about our kids and youth work at ABC. We have this amazing team of people under the direction of Ivan, our children's and youth director, who lead great activities for kids and young people. If you were online with us this morning, you heard me interviewing Ruth, one of the members of our team, about that online in the 10 before the service today. But they do an incredible job in all sorts of different ways. And we want to ask particularly if you would like to be involved with our young people, with our youth work. Happens on a Sunday morning. Our impact group meet on a Sunday morning from 11 o'clock during our service, and they also meet on a Friday night for small group times and then for larger activities once a month or so. And we're really looking for some people to come and join Ivan and his team in helping with that impact youth work, both on a Sunday and on a Friday as well. So if that's something you might be interested in getting involved in, then we would love it if you'd be involved involved in that. Just get in touch with us through the church office or through Ivan. You can find his details on our website and so on, and you can have a conversation about what that might involve. But the sorts of things they do, all sorts of things. They went climbing on a climbing wall a couple of weeks ago. They've got a Nerf battle, I think, coming up in a few weeks' time. So all sorts of crazy stuff that goes on for young people, including as well our Duke of Edinburgh award scheme that's run out of the church here. So it's a really vibrant thing that's going on, and we'd love for you to connect with that if you'd like to do so. So can I just put that ask out there, and do get in touch if you'd like to be involved in that. And finally for today, what's coming up this coming week at ABC? If you've been around with us during the COVID season, you know that we started this online prayer gathering on a Thursday evening when we were all locked down and we couldn't go out. Once a month on a Thursday evening for about an hour, we joined together on Zoom to pray together. And they have been so successful, and so many people have joined us that even now we can get out and about a little bit more. We don't want to lose it because it's been such a great part of our church life, and one of the things we've learned through the COVID season that we really get value from doing together. So every month, usually on the fourth Thursday of the month, is our prayer gathering. And so that's taking place this coming Thursday evening at 8 o'clock on Zoom. So we would love for you to join us for that. We're going to be thinking particularly about praying for healing, because so many of us now really need God to come and heal us in so many different ways, emotionally, spiritually, physically, from the after effects of COVID, from the effects of COVID, if we're still going through that right now, and so many people are. We need healing from our grief, where we've lost people or not been able to see people through this season. So come and join us, be a part of that prayer gathering, praying for other people and receiving prayer ourselves for all the different ways we might need God to heal us. And if you'd like to submit a prayer request, then do use this Say One For Me feature that's on our website, where you can fill in a little form confidentially, and it comes to our team, and we will be praying for you, and we would love to pray for your Say One For Me prayer request on Thursday evening. If you don't want to do that, that's no problem, but do join us online. You need to register for it. That's the only thing we need to say, because you need to get the Zoom link from us. So you can do that via our website, via our Church Suite app, or simply get in touch with the office if you want to register, and we'll email you the link for that Zoom call. And you can join in with your camera, or you can phone in as well if you'd rather do it that way, and that's easier for you. So however you want to join in, please come and join with us, prayer gathering Thursday evening at 8 o'clock for about an hour or so. Okay, that's what's been going on this week at ABC. I'm going to hand over now to Alex and the band in the main hall, who are going to lead us in a couple of songs as we express something of how we feel about God through our sung worship. Over to you, Alex.
Thank you, Chris, and good morning, everyone. It is great that we can gather together, not only on site, but online. So wherever you are and whatever you're doing, why not just stand? Let's sing out loud. Let's lift our hearts to God and worship him together.
Worship his holy name. Sing like never before. Oh, my soul, I'll worship your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Worship his holy name. Sing like never before. Oh, my soul, I'll worship your holy name.
slow to anger. Your name is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come. Still my soul will sing Your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. Oh, I'll worship Your holy name. Yes, I'll worship Your holy name. Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the works Thy hand hath made, I see the stars, I hear the mighty thunder, Thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to Thee. How great Thou art, how great Thou art. Then when I think that God, his son not sparing, sent him to die, I scarce can take it in. That on the cross, my burden gladly bearing, he bled and died to take away my sin. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. How great you are, how great you are, how great you are, how great you are. When Christ shall come with shout of acclamation and take me home, what joy shall fill my heart. Then I shall bow in humble adoration and there proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. How great you are, how great you are, how great you are, how great you are. Thank you. Please take your seats.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rob. I am one of the ministers here, and it is a pleasure to be with you, whether you're here with us in the room or online. A very, very special welcome to you. One of my passions in life is video games. And if I'm honest, I probably like them a little bit too much. Over the years, I have accumulated quite a collection of games, and the truth is, I have very limited time now to actually play them. And basically, their resale value is virtually nothing. So they were an investment of my passion, but not exactly a wise investment financially. And to be fair, I did try and exercise a modicum of control. I did buy most of them either second-hand or on sale, so that I wasn't paying great amounts for these games. But I still sometimes shudder to think, over the last decade, how much money have I actually spent on my video game collection? Especially since if you're a gamer like me, you know that you get all of these games and then you end up playing your favorites again and again and again anyway. So you might have 100 games, but you really only play 5. Let's be honest, that's how it works. Well, you know, there's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing ethically or morally wrong with playing video games. It can be actually a good thing. It can be stimulating for your brain. It's not illegal, right? It can be a fun thing. They can be a great way to relax, to kind of just unwind. But that doesn't mean that buying hundreds of them and spending hours and hours and hours of your time playing them is a wise investment in your life, a wise way to spend your time. And I don't regret getting into video games, but I do regret the amount of money and the amount of time I've probably spent over the last decade playing them. I bet you know the feeling. Maybe some of you watch too much TV. Any guilty parties in the room today? A few hands going up? Yes, absolutely. You know, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing immoral about watching TV. It's a good way to pass the time and enjoy a movie with a family. But if that's all you do, and that's how you use all of your spare time, well, you'll never learn that language you're always meant to learn. You'll never go for that run that keeps your heart kind of really, really healthy. You'll never chase those dreams that require you to put in a little bit of extra time and effort and planning and thought. So, all things in moderation is probably the best way to put it. You know, the truth is that sometimes making a series of unwise decisions in small things can lead to something much more serious along the way. They can lead you down a path that does lead you to something that is immoral or illegal. Small decisions can have big consequences later because every decision sets in motion another series of events that leads to another decision, and before you know it, things start to get complicated. You know, the biggest regrets in our lives are usually prefaced by a series of bad decisions. Not just one. It doesn't just spring upon you and you have one decision. There's a decision after decision after decision that leads you to the point where your decision is bad enough to have serious consequences. And the truth is that we all make bad decisions that kind of follow after one another at times, but sometimes they can be really serious. Our biggest regrets can be off the back of a series of bad decisions. Just one more beer before driving home. Just one more hour at work before I have to go home and face my parental responsibilities. Just one more business trip with that coworker that I find attractive even though they're married. You know, one decision at a time, we get closer and closer to that line. You know that line, the line between an unwise decision and an immoral one. The line between good and evil. And we flirt with disaster, as if our moral compass could never fail us at the most important of times. And then we find ourselves in terrible situations of our own making, wondering how on earth we even got there. Well, we got there one bad decision at a time. One unwise decision at a time. So how do we learn to make better decisions and have fewer regrets in our lives? Well, over the course of this series, we've aimed to look at a number of different questions designed to slow down our decision-making process and make us think very carefully about the decision that we're about to make. And whether you're a person of faith or not, I think these principles will be really, really helpful for you. So if you've missed any of the episodes of this series before, I really encourage you to check them out on a YouTube channel. You will find them helpful for making better decisions and having fewer regrets in your life. The first question we asked was the integrity question, which is, am I being honest with myself? The second question was the legacy question. What story do I want to tell with my life? The third was the conscience question. Is there a tension within me that I need to pay attention to right now? And today, I want to ask a fourth question. It's called the maturity question, and it simply asks, what's the wise thing to do? What's the wise thing to do? You know, wisdom is so important that there are entire books of the Bible dedicated to it. Proverbs, for example, is a wisdom book, just with loads and loads of statements that have been passed on from generation and generation to help people make better decisions and have fewer regrets. If you haven't read it, I recommend you read it. There's some really great Proverbs in there. There's some great wisdom, and some of them are really funny too. So you'll probably enjoy the experience. But you know, one of these sayings really perfectly sums up the difference between wisdom and foolishness. It says this, it says, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. You know, instead of simply doing things the way you've always done them and doing the same thing again and again, every decision that you make should factor in your past experience, your current circumstances, and your future dreams and hopes and aspirations as well. And only when you look at the big picture of life can you be sure that you'll be able to spot danger before you walk your way into it. That's how we prevent a pattern of making bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. When we think a little bit longer term about the implications of each one of those decisions and where it's leading us. And make no mistake, you must ask if a decision is wise, because the world that you live in and the culture that you live in will lead you a different way. It will lead you into temptation, into consequences, and regret. We know this, don't we? We know that there are so many things around us that say, "I'll go on, just one more. Oh, go on, spoil yourself. Oh, go on, just do this one time." And that's the beginning of a chain that can lead to big, big regrets. You know, the world may have improved many ways over the last few thousand years, but the fact is human nature is still to gratify our immediate desires as often as we possibly can, often at the expense of the things that we actually value the most. One of the early Christian leaders and the author of a number of books in the New Testament, a guy by the name of Paul, was a wise and experienced pastor and leader. And he wrote to a church in the then modern city of Ephesus, very cosmopolitan, all kinds of things going on there. And this is what he said to them. He said, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil." You know, in these two verses, Paul exhorts Christians on how to live their lives and why. In fact, he does it in the first 4 words of verse 15. He says, "Be careful then." You know, the word "then" implies that he's already told them something. And in fact, if you read verses 1 to 14, you find out that he's already explained and laid out the reason why they should make wise decisions, why they should be careful, why they should live their life this way. And in the preceding verses, he's pointed out that they are called to follow God's example, particularly the example of Christ, who sacrificed and gave up his life in love to the people around him. And that they're not to follow the immorality and the greed and the obscenity that are so common in the culture that they found themselves in. He gave a very stark warning, actually, to this church in Ephesus. And he told them that the consequences of these kinds of idolatrous actions were going to be severe, that there was no place in God's kingdom for people who continue to live like this, that they would incur God's wrath. So based on what Paul has already said to them beforehand, based on what he's saying to them now, and based on what he says about the future coming, they were confronted with the need to make wise decisions. And they were told they should be very careful how they live, because the days that they were living in were evil and God's judgment was coming. Now, maybe you're listening to me today and you don't believe in God necessarily, so you're thinking, this isn't really relevant for me, but hang on a second. Just kind of hold your horses. Listen a little bit longer, because you might not share my faith at this stage, But surely you've seen enough examples of people getting themselves into trouble to know that unwise behavior often leads to evil behavior, and evil behavior often lends itself to consequences. You don't have to believe in God to know that adultery could cost you your marriage and your family in a really messy divorce. You don't need to be a Christian to believe that people who continually choose to live immoral lives usually face consequences, whether that's from people that they've annoyed or offended, whether it's from authorities and prosecution. The only thing that I'm saying this morning that maybe you're not sure about yet is that as Christians, we also believe that we will face God's judgment one day. So whether you're a Christian or not, Paul's advice to live really carefully is just simple, good wisdom. Because there are so many opportunities in this world waiting to trip us up. Maybe they'll come, maybe the consequences of our actions will come in the form of lingering regret for something that we've done. Maybe you'll face retribution from somebody that you've hurt. Maybe your family will disown you. Maybe the state will prosecute you. Maybe your friends will distance themselves from you, or your dreams of the future will evaporate as a result of the bad choices and bad decisions that you make. Maybe you've always found an excuse for poor behavior. But make no mistake, one day you will reap what you have sown. That's just life. Life has a way of showing us that there are consequences to our actions. And I know life isn't always fair. I know that sometimes good people suffer and bad people seem to get away with a lot. And if you read the Bible, you see that a lot. That's one of the biggest complaints we have, isn't it? But the fact of the matter is that's not always the case. Sometimes people get punished for their behavior. People suffer because of their choices. Andy Stanley puts it this way. He says, our excuses escort us to the threshold of regret. I'll say that again. Our excuses escort us to the threshold of regret. So instead of living this way, Paul instructs his listeners in two different ways to combat this. Firstly, he says, be wise. Be very careful how you live. Be wise. In other words, don't cozy up as close as you can get to that line. You know, that line between good and evil, between permissible actions and illegal behavior. You can probably think of examples of how we do this. Maybe you're the kind of person who likes to drive over the speed limit unless there's a speed camera. I'm not going to ask you to put your hand up if that's you. If you know that's you, stop doing that. It's very naughty. Maybe it's a tax loophole that you found. Maybe you don't pay as much tax as you probably should. Maybe it's worse than that. Maybe it's a tax haven. You know, tax avoidance might not always be illegal, but that doesn't mean it's moral. It doesn't mean it's the right thing to do to withhold tax so that other people don't benefit from that tax when everybody else is paying. That's how our society runs. Maybe it's your relationship choices. Maybe it's your dating habits. Maybe you're dating someone right now that you know you have no future with, but they're fun right now. But is that wise? Is that really fair to you or to them? Do they even know it's not going anywhere? Have you told them that? Are they okay with that? Probably not. It's not wise, and consequences come. Perhaps certain things in your life are permissible, but that doesn't make them wise. It doesn't make them wise choices. Maybe you're married, but you know that you flirt with somebody else. You're getting pretty close to a line that you could cross without even ever meaning to, and the consequences could be huge. Maybe your friends drive without a license, or they take drugs. You're at risk, folks. If that's you, you really need to think about your life choices, because you might be getting yourself into a situation by one or two decisions that could lead you into a significant problem. It's not a bad thing to befriend people whose lives are troubled, but it's not wise to spend all of your time being influenced by that group of people all of the time, because you may very well find that you start making some of the mistakes that you can identify now. Wherever it is in your life that you feel like you're snuggled up to that line between good and evil, or legal and illegal, or however you want to view it, wherever that is, you need to start taking steps to distance yourself from that line. You need to start making wise decisions and not assuming that you'll always in the moment be able to resist the temptation that takes you over that line. That's just wisdom, folks. Whether you're a person of faith or not, this is wisdom, ancient wisdom, that is relevant for your life today. And if you are a person of faith, you know that in your heart of hearts, this is more than wisdom. This is obedience to the one who has given himself and showed love and sacrifice, and you are called to be his disciple, the one to follow him, to live not just for yourself, but for him and his kingdom and for your neighbor and for the good of the people in your community. Paul says, be wise. But Paul also says a second thing. He says, make the most of every opportunity, which literally means to redeem or to ransom time. I love that idea of trying to redeem time, because the thing about time is once it's gone, it's gone. And what he's saying is you can redeem it before you lose it. You can use it more wisely now. You can take that opportunity to do the wise thing now, and you will be thankful for it later. Not only will you have fewer regrets, you'll have more joy in your life. Time is the most valuable resource we have. The problem is we have no idea how much we have. Nobody does. Nobody knows how much time we have left in our lives. I could leave this building today feeling fit as a fiddle, and I could get hit by a car on the way home through no fault of my own, and my time is up like that. Make the most of every opportunity. Every moment of your life is precious. Don't make the mistake that I made maybe, spending too much of it on leisure and entertainment when you could have learned a new language or done something else that was also fun but actually worthwhile and meaningful. Maybe you've wasted years on a dead-end relationship and it isn't heading towards a good commitment. You really can't afford to squander any more of your life, wasting your time. The days that we live in are evil because people don't ask the right question, the maturity question, is this wise? And because people don't ask that question, there are consequences to their actions. And those consequences make life difficult for people and the people around them. We all know this, but somehow we tend to just push it to the side and ignore it from time to time. And that's how we find ourselves, one bad decision at a time, getting ourselves into a whole bunch of trouble. So whether you're a person of faith or not, I'm prepared to wager that you probably know in your heart that some of the decisions that you've made have not been wise in your life. And you face consequences. And they're not great. And if that's you, I just want to say that makes you a human being. Welcome to the club. We're all there. We've all done it. But that doesn't mean we should keep doing it. That doesn't mean we can't learn from the mistakes that we've made. And some of the decisions that you've made could be the greatest teachers that lead you to a different future. Before you make a decision, folks, ask yourself a simple question. Not is it immoral, not just is it immoral or illegal or can I get away with it? Ask yourself, is it wise? Is this really how I want to take this opportunity and spend it? Because you only get one shot at every decision. And if you're a person of faith or you're exploring Christianity, I want to encourage you, why not find someone that you can talk to get some wisdom? Somebody that you trust, somebody that you know understands maybe a little bit more about the circumstances that you're in, maybe a little bit more about the faith that you're exploring. Find someone who is a source of wisdom to you. And just allow that wisdom to kind of wash over you. Just as spending time with the wrong kind of people can be dangerous for you, spending time with wise people is always a good idea. It's always going to benefit you. You're always going to imbibe some of that wisdom and begin to do things differently that are beneficial for you. And if you're exploring faith, I want to encourage you to try and maybe ask one of those people how to learn, how to hear the wisdom of God on a daily basis. Because having that wisdom available to you every single day is like gold. Just knowing that God can speak into your life and your situation, no matter what decision you're facing, and He can give you the wisdom that you ask for. That's wonderful. If you've never experienced that and you don't know how to go about doing that, come and chat to us. We would love to talk to you about ways that you can hear God's voice giving you wisdom through your everyday life. And the challenge that I leave to you is this. Once you hear wisdom, Once someone gives you wisdom, once you read a story that teaches you a lesson, maybe in the Bible, maybe you're praying and you get a sense of the wise thing to do, my challenge is, how will you respond to that wisdom? What will you do to ensure that you make the most of this opportunity and do the wise thing, not necessarily the expedient thing, the wise thing? Remember, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, thank you for your grace. We all mess up. We all make bad decisions from time to time. And I'm so grateful that you never give up on us. You never condemn us. You never say, that's it. I've had it. I am sick of these people. That's not you. In fact, while we were still sinners, living in sin, you sent your Son to come and pay for that sin and to show us a better way. We are so grateful that we have this example of Jesus, who spent so much time with people who weren't religious at all and were living their lives without any real connection with you, because he loved them and he wanted more for them. And Father, the people that he got really angry with are usually the religious folk who were pretending that they were making all of the right decisions when actually they were living like hypocrites. Help us all to humble ourselves before you today and to know that, Lord, we need your wisdom. Whether we think we are wise or not, in your eyes, Lord, the truth is told. And so, Lord, help us to humble ourselves before you and seek your wisdom and then put it into practice. Like a wise man who understands the importance of making the most of every opportunity. We ask it in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Shall we continue to sing and to praise God and worship him this morning?
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, child of God. Oh, I am a child of God. Oh, I am a child of God. Alone in my sorrow and dead in my sin, lost without hope with no place to begin. Your love made a way and let mercy come in. When death was arrested and my life began. Now ash was redeemed, only beauty remains, and my orphan heart was given a name. My morning grew quiet and my feet rose to dance. When death was arrested and my life began. Oh, your grace so free washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made me new, now life begins with you. Released from my chains, I'm a prisoner no more. My shame was a ransom you faithfully bore. He canceled my debt and he called me his friend. When death was arrested and my life began. Oh, your grace so free washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made me new, now life begins with you. Our Savior displayed on a criminal's cross, and darkness rejoiced as though heaven had lost. But then Jesus arose with all freedom in hand. When death was arrested and my life began. That's when death was arrested and my life began. arrested and my life began.
So we're just going to pause for a moment just to consider what God is saying to us this morning and give us all an opportunity to respond to that. Now, Rob posed the question, this maturity question of what's the wise thing to do? And it's an enormously open-ended question, isn't it? And therefore we must find ourselves having to ask someone perhaps for guidance as to what the wise thing could be in any situation, be it a small decision we might have to make or an incredibly large one. Now, we're so blessed by our community here at the church, and one of our members of the church has given us a verse to just consider. And it comes from the New Testament part of the Bible, the book of James, the first chapter, verse 5. And it says this: "Now, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." And that's such an incredible blessing, knowing that we can go to God and ask him for his guidance in any situation that we find ourselves in life. And therefore, we must respond back to what Rob was saying. And the challenge to us all is, how will we respond to the wisdom that's given to us? And I think there are three elements that we can focus on. It's something that God perhaps has been saying to me this morning. First of all, we must pray. We must ask God for his guidance. We then have to listen to what he has to say to us. And then we have to act. And that's just what I'm going to pray for us all this morning before we go back into our worship. Heavenly Father, I just pray that in any stage of our life when we have problems that we are facing, that we turn to you, that we make time for you. And then we consider what you are saying to us, that we listen to your wisdom. And then, Father, that I pray that we act in a way that is guided by your infinite wisdom in those moments of need.
Hi everybody, and welcome back into the studio for our bit of post-service chat. That was such a powerful, great powerful message, really powerful worship, and great what Stephen shared with us there as well. So really hope this whole thing has been a blessing to you this morning as we all try to make better decisions. We're going to spend about 10 minutes now just digging around a little bit more with Rob into what he said today, and looking at some next steps that we might take to help us find wisdom and that come out of what we've been talking about today. Just before we get into that though, quick reminder, like the video if you haven't done that yet and you're watching online. We'd love for you to like the video because that just means it gets shared to more people. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If your subscribe button is red just under your video, then that means you're not subscribed to us on YouTube at ABC. We'd love for you to do that because there's loads of great content comes your way through our YouTube channel. So let's get into this, Rob. Thanks so much for what you shared with us this morning. And actually, I'm going to be selfish and ask you my question first. Folks, if you've got questions and you want to put them on the chat for Rob, we'll try and ask him. But I've got this one that I promised on the chat earlier I was going to ask you about. You made this point, and I thought this was really, really excellent, that when Paul, and we were talking about this message in the New Testament from Paul, talks about making the most of every opportunity, you talked about that literally meaning, and I just want to get this right, redeeming, and there was another word you used, I can't remember what it was, time. And I just wondered, could you just expound upon that? Because I thought there's something, this is really good, it really challenged me, but I thought actually it'd be good to just rummage around in that a little bit more. So yeah, just unpack that a little bit more for us, is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really interesting because Paul is giving us this picture of the one thing that, like, we so often know that we can't do. You know, once you've done something, you can't undo it. You can't re-spend that moment of time. But actually what he's talking about is when you apply wisdom, not only are you doing the right thing, but you're actually redeeming the time from what could have been a terrible series of decisions. You know, when you make a bad decision and it has consequences, so much of your time gets consumed by that, and you are redeeming not just that moment, but all of the time that's spent on the aftermath of that decision. You're redeeming that. You're kind of saying, no, it's not going to be spent on that. It's going to be spent on something different. You know, maybe it's going to be a great opportunity for doing the right thing. And I love that image. You know, the word redeem could be, ransom. There's almost this idea that sometimes you almost hold yourself to ransom because you get yourself into situations and then you feel like you're you're a prisoner in them, and you didn't mean to get there, but you are there now. Now you're trapped in this situation because of a series of bad decisions that led to maybe a immoral decision or an illegal decision, and now you're in this situation you can't get out of, and you're thinking, what do I do? And so Paul's trying to say to people, the wise way to live by living according to making these good decisions based on your past experience, your present circumstances, and your future hopes and dreams. When you can make that wise decision, you save yourself from that future situation that you would find yourself in. You redeem yourself from it. You ransom yourself from it. And I think that's a really powerful image, really, of how vitally important it is. Every moment of our life is an opportunity to spend time and also to save time in the future based on what we decide now. Yeah. So a great metaphor, great picture by Paul there, I think.
I just think thought it was really, really helpful. And it's a flippant example, but example came to my mind is I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, American football, Dallas Cowboys fan. It's playoff time in the American football. They were in the playoffs last week, Sunday night. They were in the late game, so they didn't kick off till like 10 o'clock at night. And the American football game takes 3.5 hours, 4 hours. And I thought to myself, I'll just watch the first quarter, because 4 quarters in American football. I just watched it, and I was recording this, by the way, so I could have gone back the next day and watched it. Just got to half time. I'll just watch the first, and then I carried on. And of course, it was a really tight game. It went all the way down to the wire, and all the time I'm thinking, this is not time I'm going to get back. I'm not going to sleep any longer. I'm not going to, blah blah blah. 2 o'clock, safe to say, 2 o'clock in the morning. They lost. Last play of the game. I'd stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning. Didn't get a good night's sleep. Knackered the next day. Really should have redeemed that time. That was not a wise choice.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I made a wise choice last night that I'm now kind of going, wow, I've redeemed time for exactly the same kind of thing. So last night I was kind of tired, but like I wasn't quite feeling like I was ready for bed, and it got to like 10 o'clock. And generally on a Saturday, when I'm preaching the next day, I like to be in bed fairly early, just to give myself good sleep. But I wasn't convinced I was going to sleep. And I kind of forced myself. I said, no, Rob, this is the wise thing to do. Yeah. You need to do this. So I went to bed. Guess what? Last night at 3 a.m, my dog wakes up violently ill everywhere. I lost about 2 hours, 3 hours sleep last night. Had to rush him to the vet this morning. And if I hadn't had that extra few hours of sleep, I would have been absolutely finished this morning. Wouldn't have been able to preach. Would have been an absolute nightmare. And so that's a great example of one time in my life I made a wise decision about something I didn't know the consequences of. Yeah. And actually, I redeemed time. Yeah. I literally did what Paul was telling me to do. And I'm so grateful to God for leading me down that road, because I could quite easily have gone and played video games. And I didn't. So,
it's good. Well, let's ask this question then as well. When we're looking for this wisdom to know what is the right or wrong thing to do to redeem time or save ourselves pain further down the road, where do you turn to get wisdom?
Well, I have a number of places that I turn. I mean, I get into the regular habit of praying during the day, because I think it's important to present every situation to God, and to ask for wisdom. And sometimes I feel like I'm given wisdom on the spot for really important things. Other times it takes a bit more work, really. So maybe that's, for me, I'm in the habit of reading the Bible quite regularly. And the Bible's a great tool for finding wisdom, because you're looking at thousands of years of history of people's interaction with God and with each other and circumstances. There's nothing new under the sun. People face challenges in life that they've always faced. And there's so many of those challenges faced out in the Bible, and you can kind of see the results of decisions people have made, unwise or wise decisions. So that helps me. I also have people that I can trust that I go to. So, for example, the team of elders here at ABC is a really great source of wisdom. When I don't really know what to do, I like to ask other people who are wise and consult with them. I also have a spiritual director that I go to 3 or 4 times a year, just to kind of talk through life and am I making the right choices? Am I making choices that keep me regularly connected to God so that I can receive His wisdom? Is there anything I'm not seeing? Those kinds of life decisions, that kind of stuff. And he just helps me by asking really important questions, most of the time, for me to think through, and then in that process the wisdom becomes more apparent. So that's kind of what I do.
I would tick every one of those boxes, say exactly the same. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to engage more with the Bible in a minute, but I think that's one of the reasons why God gives it to us, and why some of those characters that we read about in the Bible are the ones that are singled out by God for us to still know their story thousands of years, in some cases later, is because they are just like us, or they're facing. And how many, we know this when we're preparing sermons, how many times do we talk about somebody in the original context that they were in 2,000 plus years ago, and go, and actually the circumstances that they were facing are so similar to where our society or our culture is today. And for me, that's a demonstration, evidence of how inspired the Bible is. The fact we talk about it being inspired by God, because it just so often when we're engaged, we go, well, that's exactly me or my situation or our culture or our scenario, and look what happened there, both good and bad, because there are people there that made really foolish choices, weren't there? And to learn from. So yeah, I feel exactly the same way as you. And I just started this thing this week with an organisation that I'm involved in. I was invited to join in with something they're doing. It's called Leader to Leader, and there are about 15 church leaders on a Zoom call, and we break into small groups, and we get 3 minutes to talk about the biggest issue we're facing in church life that we need wisdom on. And then everybody in that group of 6 gets 3 or 4 minutes to share with you what they would do in that situation, or what wisdom they have learned for that situation. I mean, that's gold.
Yeah.
Sitting around with those 5 or 6 leaders going, if I were you, I'd think about this, or we faced a similar situation and we did this and this. And I know that's kind of about church leadership, but actually we can find those people in our lives. I mean, connect groups that we have around here. What would you do if you were me? I'm facing this tough choice. What would you do? Or could you pray for me that God reveals wisdom to me? And those things are so precious, aren't they? And
absolutely.
Yeah. That's great. Well, let's talk about next steps then. Because you've suggested a whole bunch of next steps to us coming out of the talk today, and actually these are all about this, aren't they? About where you find these wisdom, where you find other people to share wisdom with you, where you go in the Bible to find wisdom and that kind of stuff. So let's unpack these a little bit just over these last few minutes. So the first one you're suggesting is the YouVersion Bible app, which we love around here.
Yeah, we do.
So why have you suggested that?
Well, I suggest it for a number of reasons. I think, firstly, it's really accessible because there are so many different, translations of the Bible that are out there, and it can be really confusing. And I think it's really helpful when you find one that works for you. YouVersion has almost all of them. So you can really, you can find the different translations or the different versions that seem to make the most sense to you and help you to read it more regularly. It also has daily devotions right in it, so you can literally follow a plan that somebody else has thought through on a particular topic or whatever. It will help you to engage with the Bible on a regular basis. You can take it with you wherever you go, which I think is really important. Because you don't just need wisdom at a certain time of day. You might be, facing a particular situation at 8:23 at night on a bus, and you're thinking, what's the wise thing to do here? Maybe that's the chance for you to dig into this app and have a look and try and see. You can search.
I was going to say, you can search for things, can't you?
Yeah, you can search for topics. You can search for Bible verses on a particular topic. So, if there's wisdom in the Bible on a topic, and there usually is, you can find it really easily using that app. So that's one of the reasons I really recommend it. It's a great way to get into the habit of reading the Bible on a regular basis and understanding it, really. And the other thing I would say with that is, the more you read the Bible, the more you're likely to understand it, because I know it can be really confusing at times, but it kind of explains itself over time. So if you're reading it and it doesn't make any sense to you, don't let that discourage you. Keep going. Maybe read a different passage or a different book. Just keep going. Over time, it begins to explain itself. It begins to make sense. It ties together, and you start to going, oh, that's what this guy meant, because this guy's explaining what he meant, etc. That's really helpful.
Yeah, it's great. And the other thing with the YouVersion Bible app is it will read to you, won't it? So you can have an audio version. Because I know that lots of people out there, prefer to engage with an audio reading rather than reading it themselves. And I know lots of people use the YouVersion Bible app, and they'll sit on their commute or in the car or whatever, and they'll just listen to it. Some people do that at night. A way of helping them get to sleep is just to be listening to some good and positive stuff that God has to say as the last thing they do at night. So yeah, YouVersion we love. Second way, and again, lead this whole area for us is our Connects group thing at ABC. So, engaging with the Bible on our own is great, but engaging with it with a group of people who, again, can help us if we're misunderstanding some stuff or not understanding some bits. So we have a whole load of Connect groups around here, don't we? And how do people, if they want to find out what's available or want to sign up, these are Connect groups, we're talking about small groups of people that meet either online or in person or a combination to do all sorts of different things, different courses, unpacking wisdom for life and what God has to say about it.
Yeah,
so how do people find out a bit more about Connect groups?
Really simple. All you have to do is go to our website. Along the top of our website, there are maybe basically 4 or 5 major sections. There's one called Explore, one called Connect, one called Partner, one called Lead, and then I think there's a Giving section. So you go to the Connect for Connect groups. You go to Connect section. When you click on it, it says Groups. You click on Groups, and right there is a whole list of all of the groups. You can expand that list and you can see all of the groups that you can sign up to. If there's a little blue button underneath saying sign up now, it means there's space in that group. It's available for you to sign up. You can sign up right now for that. And currently on the website, I'm telling you, there are about 7 or 8 that are already waiting for people to join them. Great. So there's plenty of spaces. You can do that right now and join a group that suits you.
Brilliant. And we just want to highlight, don't we, there's one that kind of a new thing that we're starting. So we do different sorts of groups, and sometimes we have short-term groups that just meet to do a specific piece of material or whatever. And there's one that's starting in March called Raising Faith.
Yes.
Have I got that right?
That
Raising
is correct.
Faith, which is for parents of kids and about how you parent and that kind of stuff. So that's an example of a specific group aimed at a specific type of person that's going to be really helpful, we hope. So if you're a parent, particularly a parent of young kids, great group to be a part of, starting in March to help you find wisdom for parenting.
And man, do we all need wisdom for parenting. I have a dog and that's complicated enough. I don't even know a child, my goodness.
Yeah, perhaps you should start a wisdom for looking after your
wisdom
pets
for looking
group.
after dogs, yes. Be careful what you feed them. Bad things can happen if you feed them the wrong thing. Yeah.
Cool, great. So that's Connect groups. You then also recommended something from Right Now Media. So Right Now Media is a thing we have access to as a church. Anybody in our church can have it for free. Library of tons and tons of resources, again, to unpack the Bible on themes and topics and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So if you're not on Right Now Media and you want to get in touch, we'll give you the details about how to get a password for that. Nearly dropped my iPad. But you're recommending a particular set of material on there, again, if people want to unpack this theme of wisdom.
That's right. It's called Get Wise, so you can just pop that in the search bar. Get Wise, really simple. It's basically based, I think, on the book of Proverbs, how to understand the book of Proverbs, how to extract some of that wisdom, but very much life application teaching there about, how you approach wisdom literature in the Bible and how you gain wisdom for your situation today, which may be thousands of years later, but actually the wisdom is still the same. Yeah. So, that's a really great resource I highly recommend. I think it's about 5 sessions or so. They're all about maybe 20 minutes long or so. So it's perfectly doable at the end of your day or as part of a Connect group experience or wherever.
Yeah, and you can get the app on your phone and all those kind of things. So I love that idea of any time, any place, anywhere. Again, on the train, at the school gates, you're waiting for the kids to come out. Whatever it might be, you can throw on a Right Now Media video and connect and engage with God in that moment. And that's something we're really passionate about, isn't it? Helping us in every situation in our lives, find ways to connect with God. Yeah. Fabulous. And then one last thing, really around this idea of surrounding yourself with people who can give you wisdom. Yeah. Why don't you explain that? Compass mentoring, is that the kind of language for it? So,
So if you think about a compass, basically it's obviously the main points are north, south, east, and west. And basically we use this as an illustration of people that you need in your life that will give you wisdom and will help you through the challenges of life. So you need a mentor. That's your north. That's where you're going, looking towards the future. You need someone who's been there before you, maybe a little bit older, a little bit wiser than you, somebody who's trustworthy and dependable, someone that you can go to for advice and that you trust. You need to identify that person and make sure that you're spending enough time with that person. Then you need, to your east and your west, alongside you need good friends and good colleagues, maybe people who are kind of in the same position of life as you. Maybe it's people who are parenting kids of the same age or something. Maybe they've got some great wisdom and you can help one another do life together. Connect groups are a great way to do this because many of the people in the Connect group will be having some of the same questions and experiences as you. It's just a great source of kind of mutual support. And then to your south, that's basically somebody that you can pass on wisdom to, somebody that you are mentoring, somebody that you are helping. Maybe that's your kids. If you're a parent, obviously your kids fall into that category. How are you helping them to develop into wise young people? or maybe it's somebody at work who maybe doesn't have enough experience in the particular role that they're doing, but you've done it 1,000 times. You can help them. By sharing that wisdom with somebody else, you could be that person that just gets them through a really hard period of time. And that's a great way to ensure that you're still serving at the same time, because life is complicated. We all want to help, and we hope that you want to help people too. So find someone that leads you, encourages you, mentors you. Find people that will walk alongside in the journey with you, to your left and to your right, whether that's friends or colleagues, and find someone that you can pass on wisdom to, who maybe could really benefit from your life experience and your particular gifts and talents.
Brilliant. That's great. Great next steps for everybody today. If you want to be growing in your walk of faith, wherever you're starting from, whether you're brand new to the whole faith thing or Christian, taking these next steps is just a really great way to continue to ensure our faith is growing. Rob, thanks so much. It's been a great morning. Thank you for sharing with us. And I know it's been a little bit stressful for you, but you got here, you were able to give us a great message from God. And
my dog is well, so thank you for everyone who prayed for my dog. My dog is well now. He's okay. He's going to be all right.
Good. Okay, well, we're going to leave it there, folks. Thanks so much for joining us today. Really hope it's been helpful and beneficial to you, and you've met and encountered God in a fresh way today. Don't forget to keep connecting with us during the week, and we'll look forward to seeing you for the last part of this series next Sunday. We can't wait to see you then. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye now.